Hey guys, it's Krista, and this is going to be the beginning of a series, hopefully, of videos in which I'm going to be discussing things I read from this book. This book is called Sacred Marriage. It's written by Gary Thomas, and what really caught my attention was the subtitle, Sacred Marriage. What if God designed marriage to make us holy more than to make us happy? I am currently going to be starting up a study this week with two close friends on marriage, and we're actually reading, I think, 3 different books, and this is one of them. But I like how this book is set up, and I figured since I'm already going to be reading it and going over like the discussion questions for my Bible study with my friends, I might as well film videos for each chapter and just kind of share what I learn or take away from this book and the discussion questions and my answers with you guys. So if you guys want to get this book, I found it on Amazon for really cheap. I'm only a couple chapters into it, and I already really have been blessed, touched, inspired, encouraged by this. I've read a lot of books on marriage, and this one is one of those that's like real. It's not a bunch of fluffy words and kind of like no-brainer stuff. This has really been encouraging to me, so I hope that these videos, or hopefully the series of videos, will be encouraging to you guys, and encourage you to pick up this book and leave comments below. I'm in the description box. I will type out the discussion questions. I'd love for you guys to either like leave comments below with your answers and your perspective, or send me like a private message. I think it'd be really neat. So anyway, I'm going to be using this book, and I accidentally, when I bought this off Amazon, I saw the participants guide, and I'm like, oh cool, some kind of like extra like discussion questions or like a journal maybe. But this actually goes with like, there's a whole DVD series, and I didn't realize that. So this book, the participants guide, is kind of for like if you're in a class setting, you're doing this with like a church or something, and they're using the DVDs. I don't have the DVDs, but I'm going to be referencing some of the information in this book also, because there's some good questions that aren't in this book's discussion questions. So anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and basically all I'm going to be doing in these videos is kind of summarizing the chapter and maybe sharing with you what I highlighted, things that stuck out to me, and then answering the discussion questions that are found in the back of the book. So chapter 1, let's see, there are 13 chapters in this book, so this is just going to be on chapter 1, and chapter 1's title is The Greatest Challenge in the World, a call...
Alert from mail.
Apple. Call to holiness more than happiness. And at the very beginning of this chapter, there was a quote that really stuck out to me, and I'm going to, I'll read it twice so you guys can catch this. If I have time, I'll put this stuff in the description box below, but this is a quote from W.H. Auden. I don't know how you pronounce that name, but anyways, really powerful. Listen carefully. Like everything which is not the involuntary result of fleeting emotion, but the creation of time and will, any marriage, happy or unhappy, is infinitely more interesting than any romance, however passionate. I'm going to read that again. Like everything which is not the involuntary result of fleeting emotion, but the creation of time and will, any marriage, happy or unhappy, is infinitely more interesting than any romance, however passionate. I really like that quote. In this book, he talks about there was, I guess, maybe a Christian writer from the 17th century, Francis de Sales, I think is his name, and there's this quote from him. He says, "The state of marriage is one that requires more virtue and consistency than any other," he wrote. "It is a perpetual exercise in mortification. From this time plant, in spite of the bitter nature of its juice, you may be able to draw and make honey of a holy life." I underlined, what if God didn't make marriage to be easier? What if God had an end in mind that went beyond our happiness, our comfort, and our desire to be infatuated and happy, as if the world were a perfect place? What if God designed marriage to make us holy more than to make us happy? That is not a premise for any marriage book that I've ever read before, and it was really powerful, and it makes you think. He talks about romanticism's roots, kind of what is fed to us by popular culture and media and movies and love songs and just everything that we see around us being advertised to us of what love is, and it's based off romantic love or romantic feelings and emotions. And he kind of delves into that a little bit. He says, not to suggest that romance itself or the desire for more romance is necessarily bad. Good marriages work hard to preserve a sense of romance. But the idea that a marriage can survive on romance alone, or that romantic feelings are more important than any other consideration when choosing a spouse, has wrecked many a marital ship. And this was another really powerful quote. Romantic love has no elasticity to it. It can never be stretched, it simply shatters. Mature love, the kind demanded of a good marriage, must stretch, as the sinful human condition is such that all of us bear conflicting emotions. This is the reality of the human heart, the inevitability of two sinful people pledging to live together with all their faults for the rest of their lives. A wedding calls us to our highest and best, in fact, to almost impossible ideals. It's the way we want to live. But marriage reminds us of the daily reality of living as sinful human beings in a radically broken world. In his classic work, The Screwtape Letters, C.S. Lewis satirically ridicules our culture's obsession with romanticism. The demon, Screwtape, gloats, humans who have not the gift of sexual abstinence can be deterred from seeking marriage as a solution because they do not find themselves in love, and thanks to us, the idea of marrying with any other motive seems to them low and cynical. Yes, they think that. They regard the intention of loyalty to a partnership for mutual help, for the preservation of chastity, and for the transmission of life as something lower than a storm of emotion. I thought that was an interesting quote from the Screwtape Letters. Let's see, I'm just reading things that stuck out to me from this chapter. There's no way that I can delve into everything because it was all so good. This little portion of the chapter is called, "Is it good for a man not to marry?" I think some of the New Testament scriptures talk about it being better not to marry if you have that ability. Here's an interesting quote from the book. "If you want to be free to serve Jesus, there's no question, stay single. Marriage takes a lot of time. But if you want to become more like Jesus, I can't imagine anything better to do than to get married. Being married forces you to face some character issues that you would never have to face otherwise." Which is very true. And then he quotes 1 Corinthians 7:2. "It is good for a man not to marry," but he follows up with these words, "But since there is so much immorality, each man should have his own wife, and each woman her own husband." And when you hear that scripture, it's usually taught in the context because there's so much sexual immorality. Whatever translation this is from, it just says the word immorality, and he expounds on that. Since there's so much immorality within us, not just lust, but selfishness, anger, control-mongering, and even hatred, we should enter into a close relationship with one other person so we can work on those issues in the light of what our marriage relationship will reveal to us about our behavior and our attitudes. I'm just going to keep reading things I highlight. I hope this isn't dreadfully boring, but give me some feedback on ways that I can share this with you guys, or what you're interested in hearing from this book. Let's see. And then he kind of sums up the chapter with looking for love in all the wrong places. We need to remind ourselves of the ridiculousness of looking for something from other humans that only God can provide. He talks about, I guess, kind of the expectations people have today of marriage are maybe too high. He said, in the same way, some of us ask too much of marriage. We want the largest portion of our life's fulfillment from our relationship with our spouse. That's asking too much. Yes, without a doubt, there should be moments of happiness, meaning, and a general sense of fulfillment. But my wife cannot be God, and I was created with a spirit that craves God. Anything less than God, and I feel an ache. So it was really thought-provoking chapter 1, and let me just go over briefly the questions in the back of the book and my answers to them. The first question is, why did you choose to get married? Is this a biblical reason? And I got married really young. I haven't shared my full testimony on this channel, but I grew up in a home with a stable, mom and dad. They've been married for going on 24 years in September. And I just knew very early on in my life, just even as a little girl, that being married and having my own family and having a committed relationship with my spouse and raising a family together was what I wanted and what I felt God was calling me to. So that's why I got married, because that's what the direction I saw my life going in. How do you think most Christians would describe the purpose of marriage? I think most people would say that it's either to bring forth children or to reflect God's relationship with His bride within your own marriage. But people say that. I'm not sure how much they live that out. Question number 3. Were you encouraged or discouraged by the author's premise that marriage is a crucible in which we learn more about ourselves and about God? What has your personal experience been in this regard? I was really encouraged and blessed by that first chapter and the thought and the premise of this book that marriage isn't just about making us happy, but it's even more about making us holy. And it just gives me an appreciation for the systems and the structure that God designs for us, even especially in Judaism. It just seems like common things, everyday things, relationships, the way you eat, the way you dress, every area, the family purity laws, it all imbues these everyday things, these everyday occurrences and relationships with so much meaning and purpose, and it's just so much deeper than the counterpart that the world offers. And to me, that's encouraging, and it gives me hope to know that marriage isn't just about feelings and being happy all the time and being in la la land. It's really more about growing as a person and how that relationship with your spouse draws you closer to God in the long run. So I found it very encouraging. Number 4, what do you think about Gary's critique of romantic love as the basis or measurement of success for marriage? How have your attitudes toward romantic love changed over time? Let's see, what did I write down for that? So basically, he said in the book that romantic love has no elasticity to it, that it can't be stretched, it simply shatters, and that mature love is the kind that's demanded in a good marriage, and it stretches. And yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, every person craves that romantic love. I crave that. But I'm going on 7 years of marriage with my husband. Actually, next week on the 26th will be our 7th wedding anniversary, and I've just learned and grown in my understanding of what true love is. I definitely think there's nothing wrong with that romantic love and those desires. I think God places them there, but love is not what the world defines it as. It's not a feeling. It's not an emotion. It's an action. It's a verb. It's something that you choose to do day in and day out, whether you feel like it or not. You're choosing to love somebody, and I think the level of importance and the value that I have placed on just romantic feelings alone has gone down a lot over 7 years of developing a relationship with my husband. Not that it's not important or that it's a bad thing. It's just not like the number one thing. I realize that a marriage is so much more than just romantic feelings. So anyway, that was kind of like a run-on. Hopefully that answered the question. Number 5, do you agree with Gary that in a sense moderns ask too much of marriage? If so, in what way? Yeah, I mean, I do think that media or popular culture emphasizes the wrong things in marriage, and set the wrong expectations for young people of what they think they should be getting out of a marriage and what they should be contributing. Yeah, I mean, the world places just so much value on the physical and emotional aspects of marriage and love, per se. Trying to think, what did I write down? Yeah, and I agree with Gary that you really, there's those things in us that God put there that only He can fill. So, moving on to number 6. What has your marriage revealed to you about your sinful attitudes, selfish behaviors, and other character flaws? Why do you think marriage brings so many character issues to the surface? Wow. Don't even know where to begin with that one. I was kind of like groomed for marriage. I was kind of like mature for my age growing up as a preteen and teenager, and I like was very interested in marriage, and I knew that was the direction my life was heading in. And I read tons of marriage books and did all this preparation, but head knowledge and heart knowledge and like living it out is all like completely different things. So getting married opened my eyes to my selfish tendencies and a lot of my pride, where I thought, this is the way I was raised, this is what I was taught, this is the right way, the only way to do something. It was very challenging at first because my husband and I have completely different backgrounds, completely different upbringings and family experiences, and that was a major test and growing experience, and still to this day, that's still usually where I struggle the most. It's just the differences in our background. It's not like anything he's doing wrong. It's just me kind of both of us getting out of our comfort zone and kind of coming to compromises and learning what works for us and meshing our different backgrounds. So it definitely brought to light, getting married definitely brought to light my like pride and thinking that my way is better or my way or the highway type of attitude, and kind of like a know-it-all attitude, and just selfish tendencies, and also the fact that we have very different love languages, and my love language is not giving. That's not me, and that's my husband, and so it's challenged me and grown me in the area of putting aside the way I seek love and show love, and trying to focus and hone in on ways that I can show him and display love to him in a way that he perceives it and receives it and longs for it. So there's that. So they're all very hard lessons to learn, but it's all been very beneficial to me in my spiritual growth and my personal growth. All good things. And then number 7, Gary says, God is the one who ultimately fulfills us, not our mate. If so, what contribution does our mate make to our life. I mean, it's true. God is ultimately the one who fulfills us. But even in the Garden of Eden, when Adam didn't have a partner, God said, "It's not good for man to be alone." And God has used my husband and my spouse to, like I just mentioned, grow so much as a person, to grow closer to God, to draw closer to God, and has opened my eyes to realize that there's never going to be any one human being that I can rely on for all of my spiritual and emotional needs, that I have to turn to God for those things. And that's something beneficial that's come out of my relationship with my husband, that's drawn me closer to God. But also, I mean, God does, I believe, want us to be happy, and the romantic feelings and passion and love that you feel between you and your spouse, those are all good things. Those are all God-designed things. Children have come out of my relationship with my spouse. Those are blessings. Those are things that honor God. Also, your marriage is a reflection of God's relationship and God's love for His people, for His bride. And I think it's something that you can really appreciate and almost understand a little bit better when you do have that experience of a loving, committed relationship with someone. Just like becoming a parent has made me better able to understand and appreciate and just kind of take a step back and say, wow, God sacrificed His only Son for me on my behalf. Now that I have children, I know and can imagine how difficult that would be, that I wouldn't be able to do that. Moving on to the last question, this is number 8. How do you react to the idea that God may have designed marriage to make us holy, even more than to make us happy? Which I kind of already answered that, so I'm just going to move on from there. So this is getting pretty long. Let me see if there's anything worth mentioning over here. Okay, this is kind of an interesting one. Most of us get very little training to prepare for marriage. When it comes to the spiritual dynamics of marriage, there's often no preparation at all. What do you wish you had learned before taking your vows and beginning your marriage? I really kind of wish I had read this book so far. It's been really enlightening and encouraging. I think if you go into marriage, I mean, I was pretty prepared. Like I said, I had read a lot of books. I grew up in a home that was had a very stable mom and dad relationship. They had a great marriage. I had a great example displayed before me. But I think if you go into a marriage with this in mind, that it's not about your happiness, it's not about making you feel good all the time, that it's more about becoming a better person, a holy person, and about honoring God, and about giving yourself to someone in a sacrificial way, and coming alongside a man and helping them fulfill their purpose and their calling. Marriages across the world would be just in a different position. So I kind of wish I had a better understanding or appreciation of that from the very beginning. It's something that I've learned on my own the hard way. But yeah, that answers that question. Let's see. Some couples live with a conviction that their marriage relationship is designed to meet their needs, satisfy their hunger for ever increasing romance, and fill the void they feel in their heart and soul. How do you see this concept being promoted in modern culture, and what are some of the possible consequences of viewing marriage this way? So we see that being promoted everywhere. That's what all of the songs on the radio are about. That's what the movies are about. That's what is advertised to us, like the sexual and emotional and romantic aspect of a husband-wife relationship, or a relationship between a man and woman. But like I've discussed, it's so much more than that, so much deeper than that. That is not the primary focus or reason God created marriage. And I think the consequences of that perspective and viewpoint are evident. I mean, you just look at the rate of divorce, whether you're secular or religious. I mean, it's the same in the church, outside of the church, between, atheists and people who believe in God. I mean, it's everywhere, and it's because that ideology has crept into a lot of minds and hearts, and it's wrong, and you're going to be sorely disappointed if that's what you're expecting out of a relationship. Not that, like I said, not that romantic feelings are evil or sinful. They're not. God put them there. But if that's all you're looking for out of a relationship, then that's, you're not going to find that. It's evident and it's obvious, the consequences of broken families. I don't even really need to go into that. So yeah, there's so much stuff that I could get into with this one chapter, but it's getting long, so I'm going to cut it off here. I would love to hear your guys' feedback. I hope this is something that you enjoy. Let me know, and I will get back with you for chapter 2. I'll talk to you later.